it's empty and it's icy and it's a desert, it should be quiet, but it's not. It's very noisy. The wind blows the whole time. The ice makes a noise. It's the sort of noise that you only hear when you lie on the ice, really. But in a tent, okay, you might have a couple of carry mats to be lying on, but basically when you go to sleep, your ear is against the ice and you can hear it moving all night, creaking and groaning and cracking and just as it moves, because it's constantly in motion. And it's not white, it's blue. It can be quite a deep blue. It looks like the sea. It's quite strange to actually be walking on it, because it feels as if you're walking on water because of the colour. But that's because of the depth of the ice that you can see. It's been compressed, the air has come out of it. Because it is a desert, the meteorites that are there get preserved, get frozen, so they stay in the ice. They get carried along and moved by the ice, and then they accumulate in certain areas where the ice is trying to move and it can't. There's a mountain in the way.
Ooh, let's see.
You can see the meteorites very easily because they're dark against the blue ice, and the wind strips the surface of the ice away. Thousands and thousands have been collected from Antarctica, and we found 1,078 in our time on the ice.
You guys should have a...
There's been a lot of debate recently about the possibility of life on Mars, and that's all that debate has come from the study of one particular Antarctic meteorite, Allen Hills 84001, collected in 1984, and it's got the whole of that part of the scientific community working on it. I don't know whether there is life on Mars. As we're filming this, I don't know. I don't think that we've seen the evidence yet. American scientists have shown tiny grains of magnetite. They've shown pictures of surface structures, which they've interpreted as tiny bacteria. Now, I don't believe that they're justified in making those interpretations from those images and those structures. I would need something a bit more concrete, cell walls, structures joined together, something much more akin to what we see in primitive fossilized bacteria on Earth. The likelihood of finding fossilized life on Mars is quite high. You just have to turn to other parts of Antarctica to see that. There are parts of Antarctica that are not covered in ice, the dry valleys, and there are communities of microbes that actually live in the rock. They live on quartz, they live within sandstones and derive their energy from the sun and their nutrients from the rock. Exactly the same conditions that are around on Mars. So it's entirely possible that similar organisms to those are present on Mars. I came back from Antarctica in February 1989, and Ian, my husband, and I had already decided that we'd start our family then.
Our plan to reach Antarctica by ship from Cape Town has failed. But we have discovered there is a private company which says it could get us to the pole. We must take a risk with them or go home. But their base is in South America. We're at the end of the wrong continent. There's nothing for it but to fly 6,000 miles across the Atlantic, turning our back on the 30-degree meridian. Our route goes via Rio de Janeiro and the Andes to Santiago in Chile. The Virgin is closed when I arrive in Santiago, but the view from the plinth is well worth the walk. In this well-ordered capital at the foot of the Andes, a celebration is underway. The band of the Palace Guards strikes up a rousing and oddly familiar refrain. It's the president's birthday. The Chileans aren't always this nice to their leaders. 18 years ago, their own planes bombed this palace, and inside it, President Allende took his own life. Chileans may seem a bit subdued compared with other Spanish-speaking South Americans, but there are many pleasures here. I meet our local guide, Patricio, for lunch at one of the world's most elegant fish markets. Both the cuisine and the music are local. Patricio, a musician himself, gives me the lowdown on the pipes they call quena. They're difficult to play.
Yes, it is indeed. It's difficult to put in tune all the little pipes, right? And it's difficult to keep the tune on because you are playing long notes and you have to be a strong muscle in your stomach to keep the air going.
General Pinochet, who got rid of President Allende, tried to ban these instruments as being too representative of the left. He had more success with human beings. 2,000 of those he arrested are still missing. From Santiago, it's a further 1,700 miles down the coast to the town of Punta Arenas, which lies beside the Straits of Magellan and opposite the island of Tierra del Fuego. It grew up as the safest harbour for ships making the perilous journey round Cape Horn. From its airport, Adventure Network flies the only commercial plane into Antarctica. Well, we've made it. We crossed continents. We're now at the tip of South America, and we're here on the appointed day for our departure from Punta Arenas. The plane's behind us, but the weather conditions round here are apparently unlike anywhere else on Earth, and the final decision as to whether we go today or not rests with the pilot and the weather station here at Punta Arenas Airport. The pilot is a Canadian, Bruce Alcorn. His plane cannot put down for long in the intense cold of Antarctica. He can only fly out when he knows he can get back. He's looking for 18 hours of continuous good weather. There seem to be a lot of low-pressure areas on this map. Is that common in Antarctica?
It's a phenomena of the South Polar regions. And back here a few pages, a few days ago, is a classic example. I don't know if you can see it here, but just in the area out here, we have 2, 3, 4, 5 low-pressure areas in an area that normally would only maybe have 1 or 2 maximum other parts of the world.
So we're not going today?
We're definitely not going today.
When will you know enough? When will you make your decision about tomorrow?
At 7:30 tomorrow morning. We have a schedule at 7 o'clock in the morning with Patriot Hills to get their actual weather. And I'll come over here at about 7:15, see what what the weatherman thinks and look at the satellite again. Based on that, we'll make a decision by 7:30.
What do you estimate the chances at the moment?
50-50 at this time. If you're a gambler, I'll give you a little better odds.
Whilst the DC-6 waits for the weather, I find out more about Adventure Network from the local manager, Anne Kershaw. Have you ever had to abandon an expedition altogether?
Once in the early years, I think 1985, people had planned a sort of 3-week trip, and after 2.5 weeks of being in Punta Arenas with bad weather, we decided to abandon it.
The only remotely encouraging piece of advice I'm given is to go to the main square and visit the statue of Ferdinand Magellan, who led the world's first circumnavigation. If I want to be sure of returning safely from my journey, I must kiss the Indian's foot. Well, now I can get back safely, but when can I go?
Patriot Hills, Romeo Bravo. Okay, I checked. 10 Zulu weather is 15,000 scattered, 20,000 broken.
If you want to know the conditions in Antarctica, you must call up someone already there. There's no high-tech weather satellite, just the radio.
Okay, copy all. Bruce's plan as of this moment is to fly. The DC-6 will fly. Planning wheels off, 11 local. How copy?
This is the news we've been waiting for. Back at the airfield, the engineers can start putting the plane together. Bruce's DC-6 was first put together in 1953. In aviation terms, it's a geriatric, taking on one of the most demanding journeys in the world. I've taken some risks to get this far, but none have made me quite so nervous. Well, as you can see, we're here. Action station's ready to go after 24 hours on the edge of our seats. We're on the edge of our hotel beds in Punta Arenas. We've now been told the weather is okay to fly into Antarctica. Planes have been known to turn back, and there's one experienced traveller said he's been to the airport more times than he's been to Antarctica, so we could still have to go back, but it looks as though we're off. And, well, all I can say is it's unlike any other departure we've made so far. A bit alarming, a bit exciting. It really is a voyage into the unknown. Ah, well, here goes. The adventure starts right away. Just climbing aboard is a minor feat of mountaineering. And on this airline, you have to be your own baggage handler. When all is loaded, the pilot himself shuts the door for us. All part of the service. And is the only one who knows how to do it. Half the cabin is for freight, half for passengers. There are 25 of us today.
Climbing out of here, I expect it to be a little bit rough. Be some turbulence over the mountains before we get over Drake Passage. The weather is generally good all the way. It's clear at Patriot Hills. And the landing at Patriot Hills is different. If you haven't experienced it before, the ice is a little rough. The airplane wiggles around a little bit. Lots of noise from the engines. It's quite normal. Don't be concerned about it. The seatbelt sign means what it says. Please, when it's on, be in your seats with the belt on. It's for a reason. I don't leave it on for nothing. And when the seatbelt sign's off, you're welcome to wander around the aircraft, come up to the cockpit, one or two at a time. If you're using a flash camera up there, please warn me first. It kind of startles the hell out of me when it doesn't go out behind my head. And Willie and Rob will give you the rest of the evacuation stuff. And we'll see you in Patriot Hill. It'll be about 7 hours and 40 minutes, I anticipate.
And in case of ditching, anybody not familiar with
Willie, the co-pilot, is, we're told, a fully qualified stuntman.
It's very easy.
As Bruce finally nurses us along the runway, I'm seized by an uncontrollable reluctance to part with the surface of Chile. The trouble with fear of the unknown is that you never know what the fear will be like until it's too late. Once clear of South America, we have a 1,500-mile journey to Adventure Network's base at Patriot Hills, Antarctica, which in turn is 600 miles from the South Pole. The flight is self-catering. It's quite liberating not to have to wait for trolleys and plastic trays. It's also much easier to meet your fellow passengers. As far as I can see, there's not a sane one among them. They range from Australian dentists who want to be mountaineers to Japanese who want to ride motorbikes to the pole.
That's the way to do it. All airline cases should be like this. I pressed one once and it exploded. I don't touch them anymore.
4 hours after setting out, we're over the pack ice. We've reached what Bruce dryly refers to as PNR, the point of no return. There is no longer enough fuel to get us back to Chile. No one says anything, but the mood in the plane changes. Public jollity turns to private contemplation. Everyone prepares themselves in their own way for what lies ahead. There are no in-flight movies to break the mood, just in-flight maps.
Rob, we've been going about 5.5 hours. Where are we now?
Right, Michael, we've come from Chile over here. Our approximate track is the inked-in line. We're now south of the Antarctic Circle. We've come past you saw the icebergs that were calved off of these these ice shelves here.
Was that real coast we've flown over yet, or was that just ice shelf?
That's ice shelf extended from this island area on the west of Alexander Island. We're now coming up into the Ronnie entrance area, and we'll be coming over this coast shortly, and then on to Mount Rex and over the mainland proper.
Yeah. How big are the icebergs? It's hard to tell from up here. I mean, what kind of size can they be?
The ones that we've been seeing have been up to 1 kilometer or 2 across. Again, the scale is difficult from altitude.
Yeah.
There was an iceberg about like 100 kilometers across.
Yeah.
The iceberg that would break off an ice shelf. Those happen only every few years, though. Yeah.
Apart from your base at the Patriot Hills, what else is around this area here? Any other settlement?
The next closest people would be at one of the scientific bases, either out on the coast or South Pole Station. At least 600 miles to the next closest humans from Patriot Hills. Yeah.
We have arrived at the emptiest continent on Earth. No one lives here. An area 1.5 times that of the USA is temporary home to some 3,000 scientists. The mountaineers catch a distant glimpse of their goal, Mount Vinson, 16,000 feet, the highest point in Antarctica. But the collective pulse really starts to quicken when the Patriot Hills rise toward us. These are the tips of mountains submerged beneath an ice cap 15 million years old, and in places 3 miles thick. Bruce, this is the most testing moment. He must put down a 4-engined fixed-wheel aircraft on blue ice without using brakes. Everyone cheers madly because everyone knows what a risk we've just taken. If anything had gone wrong, there are no emergency vehicles of any kind to help us here. This is all there is at the terminal at Patriot Hills. The plane must be turned around fast. If the engines are stopped for more than 2 hours, they will freeze up. There's no time for a personal welcome or a helping hand onto a new, unslippery continent.
It's a bit we've all been warned about. I know why. Absolutely. Great glass. Too late to go back. Whew. Oh, Bruce. Hey, Schultz, how you doing?
The arrival of Bruce's plane is the major event at Patriot Hills. Everything needed to sustain life here comes in and goes out on the DC-6. Apart from unloading 25 passengers and all their equipment, there are also large stocks of food and supplies for the base. If bad weather set in, it could be 3 weeks or a month before the DC-6 is seen again. All the fuel has to be flown out here and the empty drums taken back. It makes it as expensive as Scotch whisky. Skidoos and sledges keep up a constant shuttle of freight between plane and camp. The rest of us, the human freight, walk. Conditions are good today. It's high summer and the temperature has soared to -6 centigrade. I don't know quite what I expected to find at the Patriot Hills base, but I think it was more than this.